Let's move to IBM Think. You and I left Dell Tech World, got on a red eye, landed at about 4 o'clock in the morning to get ready for our 7 o'clock appointments. Dan?
Yeah, look, I mean, IBM Think was another big inflection moment, kicked off by a keynote by Arvind Krishna. Arvind got on the stage, focused in on the company's two main areas that they've been focused on for now, the better part of the last 3 or 4 years, but it's been hybrid cloud and AI. And you could kind of argue, to give some credit to IBM, when it was hybrid cloud and AI about 3 years ago, when Arvind, 3 to 4 years ago, when Arvind took the helm of the company, hybrid cloud made a lot of sense. You and I were wrapped up in that world. That was pretty much anything and everything at the time. But AI was like, it was a bit more curious, because it was like, well, we've been doing AI forever. But at the same time, what are we talking about? Machine learning, deep learning, neural networks, advanced analytics. What AI are we really talking about? And so with that in mind, we were, I was kind of waiting, but you saw he hit the trend line on the head. First out of the gate about a year ago at their Think event, where they did the IBM Watson X governance and IBM Watson X data and the whole platform, end-to-end enterprise AI, and they've nailed it. I mean, look, I'll give you the contentious sort of point of view on IBM. I really have admired under Arvind's leadership how they've been able to, launch and build this first out of the gate platform, first to GA platform. They've integrated a lot of really what I call good stuff with Red Hat. This week they came out talking about Instruct Lab, which is basically the ability to refine and tune models in a much more efficient way in an open source community. They, of course, continued to open source Granite models, which is, they're doing these models, and they're very focused right now on this kind of smaller language models that can be utilized for vertical and industry solutions. And we're seeing, coming out of consulting, a whole bunch of really, capable use cases that are industry, financial services use cases, healthcare use cases, defense use cases. And that's kind of what I felt walking away from this thing. Was they also see that a lot of the time, what Dell kind of keeps saying, Pat, about bringing compute to your data, same kind of thing going on here. We're going to be doing a lot of it on premises. So the other thing is the other thing with IBM, though, that I thought was, really prescient, was the fact that, they've been able to show, and this was more Rob Thomas, Dario Gill, you did a video with them. They've been able to communicate kind of the way that we can find economic efficiency in delivering more tuned models. We hear a lot about RAG. We've heard a lot about RAG over the last several months. RAG is kind of the poor man's approach to doing model. Pat's shaking his head at me. It is the lowest common denominator of using your existing data. It's not always the most up to date. It uses more lineage and more older enterprise data. What they're trying to promote here with doing their approach with Instruct Lab is that the open source community can continually refine it and get the outputs and the quality and that you would get out of tuning. And forking models and tuning models is really hard, really expensive, and really difficult to track. So I keep kind of using this analogy of RAG cost. RAG is efficient price-wise because it's data you have. It can access that data, and it can use it to create and generate outputs. Tuning is hard because you need synthetic data, you need to scale data, and you need to refine it in a way that's really, really expensive. And so my big takeaway, and we can have a bit of a debate on, is RAG the right model? Is tuning the right model? Is Instruct Lab the right way to go? But we need a bit of all of it. And IBM is helping proliferate it quite a bit faster. And that was my big takeaway from the event and kind of the key highlight to me.
Oh, that's a good breakdown, Dan. And it's interesting. If I had to sum up the entire conference, it would be that IBM is making AI real for enterprises, and that, hey, they could be your starting point, a strong alternative to starting with the hyperscaler. And not that you wouldn't deploy at hyperscalers, but starting there with Red Hat, for instance, leveraging Instruct Lab. And by the way, the reason I say that, and I know it could be super controversial, is because, as we've said, 75+% of enterprise data is on premises or on the enterprise edge, right? It's distributed, and therefore you have to have a hybrid architecture to do what IBM calls AI at scale. I totally believe that, and it's this idea of bringing the model to the data versus the data to the model, right? Starting off with an open based model, you train it on public data, tune it to your own enterprise data, and also I think IBM was all over smaller models. So yeah, it was impressive, right? I finally understand what Concert was. It's kind of funny. Um, I love slides, and if you talk to me for an hour, like I might not have any idea what you're talking about, but Dario shows one slide on Instruct Lab, I see one slide on Concert, and boom, I understand exactly what it is. And Instruct Lab to me is like you've got the three bears, right? You can take this large language model, blow it up, do RAG against it, maybe get you 90% there. Or you can create your own smaller model, which has been super expensive and complex. Um, and Instruct Lab just seems like a great middle ground where you can actually create your own proprietary model. You can do RAG on it at the same time. So super impressive. The automation stuff with HashiCorp, I got to tell you, super compelling. I think there's so many different brands out there of IBM software. It's it's getting a little challenging, and I can understand this. There's two ways to look at this. One side says, hey, um, best of breed software and brands is the way to go. They're category killers, and that's what people want. And then on the other side of it, it's, hey, people want something that's kind of pulled together comprehensively. I don't have an exact answer for that, but when I looked at all the different brands and how they come together, it seemed a little complex for me. I'm going to end on, I think IBM needs to get more credit for its open models. I mean, they open sourced the Granite code models, and this is huge for programmers. I have no hesitancy as saying that these models do perform the best versus other open source models, doing what I love to talk about, and that is benchmarks. Bob. Dan, did I leave anything?
Hey, no. But at some point, we do need to come back to kind of talking about these different bears and these different approaches and the techniques and why certain ones are going to be better than others, and costing and structure. And then, of course, to your point, putting the benchmarks, testing the performance. Because in the end, it's all about getting the most accurate, on point answers and building that data ecosystem that enables to create these frictionless experiences. So, yeah, it was good stuff. It was a good event. I was pooped by the time I got home. Man, those red eyes just kill me. I think they say you die younger from those red eyes, and I'm pretty sure they're right.